Yeah, so I tend to be gabby or ramble. I'm going to try my best not to do so. I like to say that each and every skeleton you're about to see has been custom or hand created by myself via Nifscope. And also the textures I made by hand. They're basically an amalgamation of various different textures. I'm using quite a few different modifications that vary the races, giving them all different bodies, different clothing and armor, and etc. This is probably going to be the most diverse collection of races you guys will ever see. Also, they have different idols. Without further ado, let's move forward. Here's my Nords. My Nords are slightly wider in the shoulders, and they're very tall in comparison to the other races. Here's my orcs. You'll notice the orcs are the widest of the races, and they're taller than the Nords, of course. A good reference for my orcs, or what I was trying to do when I designed the orcs, is the Warcraft movie. I love the way those orcs look, so I try my best to mimic them to a T. Next is the Red Guards. These are basically the black people of the game. They're supposed to be the athletes or whatnot. So you'll notice they naturally have a very thin build. Their skin or their normal maps makes them look very veiny, very strafed out. Very lean looking, as in real life, of course. Next up is the Wood Elves. Wood Elves are very short. A good scale or reference for their scale is probably a barrel behind them. You'll notice they stop. Jeez, I want to say they stop at the Nord's abdomen, and a good reference for this is probably the Legend of Zelda. I really like Zelda, and I think Link is the coolest version of a Wood Elf to date. Of course, my personal opinion there. Next is the Argonians. I love the Argonian stance. The Argonians are very short too. Look at the barrel behind them. The Argonians are actually tinier than the Wood Elves. I'm not sure why people didn't choose to do this because Argonians, I think they're essentially lizards, and lizards aren't that big. I don't care if you're trying to refer to a Komodo dragon or whatever. So I chose to make them look like actual lizards in the game, and I have to say the variance is very cool. Aesthetically, it looks really awesome. And this skin, I actually didn't find this skin on the Nexus. It's actually a skin I combined quite a few different skins, but I actually had to go to an alternate site to find this skin mod here. Next up is the Bretons. I don't like that preset, but the Bretons are basically the Asians of the game. This is not really showing off the difference in the race. Let's try a different preset. That looks like an Asian preset. Yeah, so but as you can see, the skins are actually created by hand, and I tried my best to make them look like they're Oriental or like they're Asian people. And I have to say, in the long run, it turned out pretty good. Height wise, they're of course they're not tall. Asians aren't tall. I guess a good reference is the table behind him. He's pretty short actually. I'm not sure what to compare him to, but I know he's definitely not as tall as a red guard. So yeah, pretty short race. Next up is Dark Elf. Dark Elf and Wood Elf are basically the same thing in my game, height and skeleton wise. I chose to do that because, again, I'm paying homage to Zelda. And in Zelda, The Legend of Zelda, Link has a dark variation of himself, which is just a mirror image of him. Plus, I think the Dark Elves look cool, short like this. So, I don't know, just a personal preference. Next up is High Elves. They're called High Elves. And traditionally or stereotypically, in everything I've seen a high elf in, they're supposed to be taller than everyone else. So yeah, high elves are the tallest race in my game. As you can see, build wise, they're very thin. For their skin, their normal maps and their regular DDSs, you'll notice they don't have any veins. They look out of shape. High elves are supposed to be snooty, classy, individuals who don't really work out a lot. So I don't know, I just thought it'd be a good look for them. And also, their faces are more attractive than normal. Pause. Here's my Imperial race. My Imperials are really big. You're gonna immediately notice if you look at his arms, the Imperials are very strafed. They're more strafed than everyone else. They're giant, massive, bulky looking characters. I chose to do that because I don't know. I use this race to make my Arnold Schwarzenegger preset, or to if I want to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, I use this race. So I chose to make this race very very big. And sure they're a big race, but then again they're not as big as the Nords. They're slightly shorter than the Nords, but they're still wide and thick in build like them. Double paws. Okay, I think I covered the Khajiits already, didn't I? Khajiits, giant cats, look like lions and tigers. They have their own skeleton that makes them look like cats if they could stand on 2 feet. Let's switch over to the other sex. Okay, for the Khajiit females are very short. You can probably tell by the barrel behind her. I chose to do that because they're cats. I think the most masculine or the most intimidating version of a cat is a tiger or a lion. So I chose to make, the Khajiits in this game, the male versions, look like alpha cats. And then for the females, I made them look feminine, very feline looking. And I think the most feminine version of a cat I can think of is a house cat. So yeah, my Khajiits are actually the size of normal house cats, which is really cool looking in the game too to encounter one of them. Next up is the Nords. The Nords are big women. They're as about as tall as the average male. They're of course they're very pretty, very pale. They have very freckly skin on their face. I don't know, just very attractive. And their stances are pretty cool too, or their idle animations. They kind of sit there with their arms crossed. It's very relaxed looking. Orcs are big. Orcs are about the female orcs are almost as big as screw that. The female orcs are bigger than the Nord males in this game. They're huge, and it makes sense. Again, it's paying homage to the Warcraft movie. I absolutely love the way orcs look in that. So yeah, I chose to make them giant women, and as you can see, they have their own crazy looking body proportions because in comparison, and it's not a sexual thing, but in comparison to the male orcs who are ridiculously wide, ridiculously bulky, ridiculously crazy looking, I think the females should be well endowed and they should have like bodies that don't exist in real life, to a good contrast. All right, for the red guards, these are the black women. Uh, they stand like the Nords. I just like the Nord stand, and I think it fits the red guard. But you'll notice for the idol, it's her idol is actually a mix-up of other idols. I believe there's like a yeah, it's randomized. So yeah, the red guards have a randomized idol. It's very sassy, and of course this hair. I love this hairstyle. It's very pretty. This looks like something an African American female would have. And you guys will notice immediately my preset is absolutely beautiful. I've always hated the preset in the base game. Height wise, they're about the size of an average woman. Height wise, they're shorter than the males and etc. And for the most part, the sister looks good. Next up is the wood elves. Wood elves are the female wood elves at least are about the same height as the male wood elves. They're a little taller than the male wood elves. Of course, paying homage to Zelda. As we all know, Zelda from The Legend of Zelda is taller than Link. So yeah, I chose to make the female wood elves slightly taller than the males. Sorry, I have to scroll up here, see what else I can show you guys. Trying to cover the default races while I can. Next up is the high elves. The high elf females, of course, are ridiculously tall. She's the female version of this race is about the same height as the males. Almost, they're slightly shorter. But I just chose to do that because again, the high elves are very tall. They're very tall, thin race, and I know it's a good look aesthetically. Dark elves. Now, the thing with the female dark elves is I've never seen a female dark elf, in anything in any other franchise or game. So I had a little bit of freedom to do what I wanted. So the female dark elves are actually shorter than the male dark elves, opposing to the wood elves who have taller females. Just a personal preference. So yeah, it's basically same as the male dark elves, but she's slightly shorter. And I don't know. I think it's a good look. Looks really cool. You meet the first dark elf in this game in Dragon's Reach, and it's very interesting to see her in person because of her height, and it looks kind of adorable. Again, this is my Asian race. These are my Bretons, and you'll notice immediately my Bretons have their own skin and body meshes and stuff, and it stands out quite a bit. You can actually tell that my characters are of a certain race, which it actually took me some time to figure out. You'll notice her proportions. She's more curvy than average. Just a personal choice. It's actually poking fun at anime and mangas and stuff like that. You know, I don't know. I just thought it'd be funny to have that body type for that race. Last but not least is my Argonians. You'll notice my Argonians are the exact same height as each other. The male and the female are the same height. Um, Actually, the female Argonian is slightly taller than the male because, as we know in real life, for the lizard species, female lizards are actually bigger than male lizards. Most people don't know that, but yeah, female lizards are bigger. So I made the women. This is probably the only race in the game too that has women that are bigger than the males. Of course, for their respective race. And again, I love this idol. I think this idol is really adorable, especially when you see it in game. It looks really. It's. I just like the way it looks. You'll notice I have a plethora of races in here. I could show them off, but I really don't want to extend this video any longer than it is. Just know that all of the races you see here are custom made. I went back and by hand did every texture for every race. And aside from that, I also edited the meshes a little bit to fit properly with everything else I have in the game. And I don't know. I'll show you guys an example. This is a race that I'm pretty sure was released on the internet somewhere. And for this race, if you're familiar with this race at all, you'll immediately notice what I modified on it. So I'm just toggling through. I have a lot of hairs in here, as you guys can see by the bar barely moving as I toggle through these. But you're gonna immediately notice that this race is not what the base race originally looked like. I went back and I tweaked everything in the race to make it fit my game. Everything from the textures to the body mesh has been replaced with something that I made myself, and that doesn't just apply to this; it applies to everything that I have in here. So yeah, that's all my races. I hope you enjoyed how diverse and how different my races look. I have to say, in game, the NPCs look incredible. I ran a couple of different patchers. I have a body scale randomizer. I have bodies by race. I have unique everything, unique, pretty much every unique mod you can think of for the individual races. So nothing really looks the same. Again, I couldn't find an example of this on the internet anywhere. So I took initiative and I just made it myself. And I thought a lot of you guys would be interested in seeing something cool like this. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Have a nice day, you guys. Be safe. Don't get sick. Wash your hands. And God bless you all. Goodbye.